Good evening, race fans, and welcome in to another fun-filled evening here on Tuesday night on VirtualRacing.Network. That's right, it's Tuesday. It's time for the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series. Continuing tonight with round number 8 at a brand new track, the Kern County Raceway Park. And tonight's race will be the Adopted Dog 225. Donate to your local animal shelter. 60 laps in the first stage, 120 in the second, 225 overall. Hello again, everybody. I'm Trevor Greenfield, welcoming you once again. We are set for some short track action here on VirtualRacing.Network. Normally, on these nights, we're joined by a couple of different familiar faces, but tonight in the booth here at VirtualRacing.Network, we have a very interesting new guest. For the first time ever calling a race alongside me will be Kaylin Davies. Great to have you joining us here, Kaylin. I know you've got a lot of experience in doing some photojournalism, a lot of motorsports watching, avid fan, and just all-around good guy. You're a podcaster. What can you tell us about a track like Kern County, and welcome to your first ever broadcast.
Thanks for having me, Trevor. The first thing that I noticed about Kern Speedway, looking in practice especially, is this is going to be a bit of a difficult test for the drivers. There's an interesting pit entry coming in out of turn 3. You're going to have to really watch what the other drivers around you are doing. There's a lot of chances for difficulty, so it'll be very interesting to see how the drivers can manage that, especially as we get into the later stages of the race.
Yeah, and that's really going to be the key. Management of the tires, management of your strategy overall, getting in and off of pit road, getting in and off the pit box. All these things going to play a big role here for all these drivers, but we've been seeing this all season. Great drivers here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series, and right now you can see none other than the big cheese here in BRB, Adam Buzzio, guy who's already taken a victory this season, right now sitting atop the charts, and it's Next Level Motorsports 1, 2, 3 at the moment. But I'll tell you what, there's another guy on track right now. This is your second place in the championship. Gavin Rogers, your top driver in the championship. We'll get to those points here in just a moment. But Ronnie Norman, Stormin' Ronnie Norman as he's known, trying to get his start here at Kern County. And one of the things that I think for all of these drivers as we hop on board with Ronnie Norman and we can take a look around this lap here as he's completing it, is for many of these drivers, this is going to be the first ever laps they've done here at this track. Maybe a little bit of practice ahead of time, but Kaylin, this is the sort of track where you do want to put in the laps, get up to speed. There's just so many variables at a little short track like this.
Yeah, and this is one of those tracks where it can be a little bit difficult if you haven't run it to define what the correct line is. And you see, even in these onboard laps, Ronnie struggling a little bit to find that entry point and to find out where he can hook up the grip. And if one of the better drivers in this series is struggling to figure that out early on, you have to imagine the whole pack is going to have the same problem. So this could create a really interesting race, and maybe a situation where Gavin Rogers, who has been dominating the last few races, maybe this could be a slip-up event and a chance for somebody else to get on the top step today.
Well, those are all excellent points, and you're absolutely right. If someone who's experienced, I mean, Ronnie came into this league, we covered him here on VirtualRacing.Network through 3 different leagues leading into this league here. So you talk about a guy with a lot of experience. He's done Bristol, he's done Dover, he's done all the short tracks, Richmond included. And for him to step into a little track like this and not quite be able to work out the fastest way around might spell some doom for some of these other drivers that are in the field here. But nevertheless, Next Level Motorsports setting the top times and doing a bang-up job of it. Perhaps Ronnie Norman taking an extra lap here just to get some extra practice under his wing and see if he can feel out a little bit even faster of laps that he can do. But we're waiting for qualifying to close down, and then we will be set to launch the Adopted Dog 225. Fun-filled evening here at Kern County Raceway. Love to give a big shout out to everybody joining us over on YouTube. Make sure that you say hello, just as Donna Lee has. Let's go Gavin number 77. So the Gavin fan club, Gavin Rogers fan club already showing up. Great to see. Make sure, as I said, give us a shout out and let us know who you're rooting on, and we'll make sure we talk back at you on the air. Of course, make sure to welcome Kalen to his first ever broadcast, and of course, we're hoping it all turns out well, and we'll have him back for many more races. But so far, so good. Everything turning out well here, and certainly everything, Galen, everything going well right now for Next Level Motorsports. We're going to take a quick look here at the points before we get to the grid, and as we get the points up here on screen, we'll make it a little bit bigger for you so that you can tell exactly what's going on there. There you can see Gavin Rogers taking the top spot and not giving it up. He has dominated here in the BRB Buttkicker Series. And then second place right now, Ronnie Norman. He's not many points back, but that gap is starting to grow. If he has any designs on the regular season championship, he's going to have to get working. Stephen Borbell also in there. Adam Buzzio as well, taking a win so far this season and right now sitting on the pole. You see Patrick Hernandez coming in strong right now, getting 5 positions recently. He may be able to clip into that elusive top 10 and be in the chase at the end of the season. And with that, let's go ahead and get to tonight's starting grid for the Adopted Dog 225 here at Kern County Raceway. Adam Buzzio for Next Level Motorsports taking that top spot, and just 2/100ths of a second off his teammate Gavin Rogers. Starting on that second row will be Stephen Borbell, and alongside him, Brendan Maddox. Then on the third row will be Dustin Stallings, and alongside him, Patrick Hernandez, who I was just talking about. He wants to race his way into that chase group and get into those playoffs. He's real close. How will it turn out tonight? That is what we'll find out here very shortly. Carl Pooler for Limitless Esports. He's had some good races. Is tonight his night? Evan Patinko for Spirit Racing, and Jared Hughes will be starting 9th in 10th place. Matthew Erickson, 11th place. Zachary King and Ronnie Norman all the way back in 12th. Well, there's one thing that he does know how to do. It is work his way forward. Richard Wolsifer and Jeremy Clapper Newell, 13th and 14th, and David Hall will be starting last tonight.
And one of the things that I'm very interested to see early in this race is it looks like getting out of the final turn has been difficult for a lot of the drivers. So it'll be interesting to see on these first couple laps how they can do it side by side, and if they can do it side by side without contact.
That, of course, is always a good question as to whether they can do that. But we'll find out here very shortly whether that is the case, because contact seems to be the one thing that always seems to nab these drivers. We're about ready to get going here, though. And we are green here at Kern County Raceway. Adam Buzzio holding on to the lead, still side by side right now.
And great clearance there by Adam. That was essential for him in the opening part of this lap to get out in the front and stay away from any of the trouble that you can get into in the first couple laps at any of these short tracks.
Oh, we've got a car in the wall.
Didn't catch what number that was right away.
That's Brendan Maddox. Number 33 has put it into the wall. We're trying to get official timing and scoring up here for you. Apologize for it not being live right now, but we will get that on the screen momentarily. Wow, that was quite a hit, and that is our yellow flag coming out. So we'll take a step back here and take a look at what took place. This is Brendan Maddox right here in the center of your screen, just coming in the corner. He gets a little loose on entry in the Castle IO machine, the number 33 there, and goes up and tags the wall. Fortunately, no one else involved in that.
And that's such a shame for him because he's been up a few spots in the points and really needed to have a good clean race to give himself at least a chance to point his way in and put in a really great qualifying performance. So it's a bit of a shame that he's going to pick up what looks like a decent amount of damage on that one. Well, hopefully it doesn't hurt his race too much because he really does need a good result in this one.
Yeah, pretty surprising that he didn't actually end up going up tagging anyone else, but of course, that's exactly what we're hoping for. A nice clean race, and certainly he can get that recovered. There is one fast repair that's available to these drivers. So with that, we're going to take a momentary break here and get some of our timing and scoring to reboot. We'll be right back here on VirtualRacing.Network. Stay tuned. And welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network. We're back underway here at Kern County. Adam Buzzio leads them into turn number 1. Patrick Hernandez now all the way up into 3rd position. Stephen Borbell back into the 4th spot at the moment. And these drivers all trying to work their way into this Kern County, feel it out. Stephen Borbell now charging back on Patrick Hernandez. And he's going to try to get up there, but he's going to hold on to 4th. There goes Patrick Hernandez around.
Just lost it there. That exit of the corner, as we saw in practice, is a very slippery exit on both corners, and it looks like it just came around on Hernandez.
That is, I could not have said it better myself. Just one of those things you got to watch out for. Applying those, the throttle. I mean, he was loose on entry there, and then just coming off the corner, just wants to come around on him. We'll jump back and take a look how this one looked on board here with Patrick Hernandez. You can see him accelerating and trying to feather that throttle there. Just wants to come around. You know, still cold tires. His tires have not yet had a chance to fully come up to temp, so something you really got to feel out in the early going, and it doesn't really matter whether you're talking about, you know, short track or you're talking about Talladega, you're talking about road racing. Cold tires are always an issue to have to deal with.
Especially when you're dealing with a track that isn't at an extremely hot temperature. You know, we're talking 74 degrees at race start, late day track. It's going to take a little bit to warm those tires up. And on a surface that already seems a bit slippery and a bit tough, making that rear tire spin is so much easier to do on these cold tires in the early stint. We saw it in practice, and we're seeing it again in action in the race very early.
Indeed. This is a couple of drivers who have been bit by this so far. We've got Zachary King checking in with us over in our YouTube chat room, saying, "Let's go, Zach." So perhaps trying to get the rallying cry going there, but Zach King, the king of his own fan club so far over in YouTube. It's still great to have our watchers joining us from wherever they're watching from, including the cockpit. But under yellow here for the second time on lap number 12, as we'll be going green, I believe, on the next lap. It'll be interesting, Kalen, to see how this works out when we get a long green flag run. Because this has happened here before in BRB. Sometimes You get a little anxious. You got to get it sorted out. And then, boom, the next thing you know, you're into a long, long green flag run. Perhaps that will be the case here coming up in this next stint, heading to, of course, our stage break, which will be on lap number 60. But short track like this, laps will fly by. We are back under green right now. Lap number 14, Adam Buzzio is your leader through turn number 1. Gavin Rogers into second, and we've got another machine up into the wall. Clapper Newell.
This one's going to take out a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. Clapper Newell. I saw Zachary King involved in that one. He's going to go ahead and tow it back. Richard Wolsifer out there putting in a lot of practice before this event. Matthew Erickson, I believe, involved. And perhaps David Hall involved as well. Let's jump back and do what we do best here. Check out the Sundance Pizza replay, as I know that Hernandez was involved, but I think it started up here with Clapper Newell. We'll see if we can get overhead here and check this one out. They come across start-finish line. 13 goes a little high on the track. Oh, it actually starts in front. That's the 51 machine of Zachary King, and I'm not sure if he got touched. Go back here and see if we can check one more time from up above. Here's Zachary King. And alongside him, the 56. He just gets loose and comes down into the 56 of Richard Wolsifer.
And that's the second time already we've seen in the middle of that corner, which is a bit surprising because I thought it would be more on the exit that we'd see problems. It seems like the middle of that corner, people are getting a little bit squirrely, and this is the second time now we've seen somebody lose a bit of that back end mid-corner, and in this case, Zachary couldn't control it and just unfortunately takes out a couple people with him in the process.
Yeah, Richard Wolsifer just really trying to get through some of these races and get some rewards for the amount of time that he's put in, and this is an early one where he gets a little bit of right side damage here. I think not too much damage. We'll have to see if they can just fix that on pit road. Doesn't look like he's damaged that too much, but for Zachary King, he did pop that engine, and that means he is going to have to do a fast repair on pit road, though he's just sitting there right now. Not sure if he's going to do that fast repair, to be honest with you. So, sitting there with no nose on, there he goes. And he'll take the repair, and he'll be back underway. So, perhaps he was evaluating how long they said it would take to fix, but when you pop the engine, there's not much chance of fixing that one in a short time frame. You pretty much have to take that fast repair. So, here we go, Caleb, back at it again. We'll see if everybody can keep themselves nice and clean on this attempt. Adam Buzzio leads them back to the green flag. Stephen Borbell and Gavin Rogers just behind. We've got some feeling out here in the mid-pack as Patrick Hernandez back up into the top 7, racing with Evan Patinko here in the middle of this field. And Dustin Stallings now up a position up into 4th place.
Yeah, and this is one of those races where if you can just get through these early stages without being involved in an incident, you can have a really good run, because it seems like people are really struggling to find the groove. And even the drivers who aren't getting involved in incidents, you can tell there's a lot of searching for where's the right area to run. Do you want that low line and take the risk of losing it on corner, or do you go the higher line and risk losing it mid-corner?
That is a precise way of describing it, and you're absolutely right. And of course, it'll change over time. iRacing just putting in I forget what the official name of it is, but the more that cars run on the low line, we've got another car around back here. That's Patrick Hernandez, who has crashed. It has not yet brought out the yellow flag. He gets it going again. We'll back it up and take a look here on our Sundance Pizza replay. Patrick Hernandez on the outside there, and maybe that's just exactly what you're talking about. A little too far out to get on the gas, not as much grip, still a cold track there. Now, what I was going to say is that iRacing has put in surface heating models into these oval racing tracks. And so the more that the cars run over a particular line, the hotter it gets. Well, if it's ice cold and you try to slam on that gas, there may not be as much grip out there for you. Yes, relatively, it might be better. As we see Carl Pooler having a big problem here. We are not under yellow flag, but Pooler has just had a big issue. And he's now dropping. It sounds like there possibly was damage there, so let's see if we can see what happened. This was a lap ago. I think maybe this began just before this, so we'll check and see here if we can back it up and see what happened to Carl. There you can see the contact.
Yeah.
Pooler on the outside gets loose. Same thing that you were saying, Kalen, up into the wall.
Yeah, it seems like when drivers are taking that middle lane line, if you don't cut off the corner on on the exit of the corner, you can get a little bit loose if you keep trying to carry it to the outside. And we've now seen it happen to a number of drivers where you just lose the rear end as soon as you put the acceleration down.
Yeah, this is clearly racing at this track. Must not have a lot of comparables. Perhaps Richmond, not the best example, but the progressive banking here, maybe a little bit of a different animal for these drivers. Not really sure what's catching them out so much because, again, you know, these drivers will do Martinsville. They'll do, as I said, Bristol, Dover. So you get a lot of this short track experience. And you know, coming up through the ranks, of course, you're going to do a lot of super late model stuff. You'll do Xfinity. You'll do truck stuff. But then again, these NASCAR next-gen machines, we've talked about it over and over again. These are some prima donnas out here. They're very hard to keep controlled, very hard to get that throttle down exactly right. And right now what you're seeing is Adam Buzzio, Gavin Rogers, and Stephen Borbell having no trouble out there. Dustin Stallings now back about 2 seconds from that trio of Next Level Motorsports machines, followed very closely by Jared Hughes, who's up 4 spots right now I believe he's got possibly the wrong number on that machine there. He's actually listed as having the 005 machine, so some sort of a configuration error there with him. But Evan Patinko in the 96, another 2 seconds back from that group. And here is Ronnie Norman as they work too wide underneath Ronnie. Oh my goodness me. Never want to go 3 wide on a short track, but Ronnie hanging the high line out there. Maybe now, Kalen, the high line is starting to work.
Well, and something that Ronnie is doing that some of the other drivers running that high line aren't is he's having just a little bit of a drop down on the exit of the corner, and that's keeping him on that cleaner racing line as opposed to trying to take it out a little bit more wide to the wall where I see a lot of these guys losing it on exit.
And Ronnie's well known for that. Of course, it does matter what your overall strategy is going to be as we take a look at Adam Buzzio. You know, he's going to be out there in clean air, cooking on a whole different strategy than Ronnie Norman is, having to make passes coming through the field. But if your overall strategy is to take it a little easier on maybe the right rear tire or maybe the right front tire, it's going to matter how you drive that line. And so watching Ronnie Norman cruise through the field here, he's got to sort of balance all of those different parts of his strategy out. And, of course, also make note of when that stage break is going to be at lap number 60. So you've got to execute all those strategy moves that you can by lap 60. Try to get yourself up there into the top 3. Good race so far. Have seen a number of drivers having it very difficult to get on the gas and keep the car moving under cold tires. But once we got rolling, it seems like things starting to stabilize. Dustin Stallings and Jared Hughes having a good battle here for 4th place. So right now 3.6 seconds back from Stephen Borbell and the Next Level Motorsports trio. But then you jump back here to this train of 4 different cars. Evan Patinko in the top spot. Second is Ronnie Norman. Third place in this group is actually Richard Wilsifer. So this is for 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th place on the track. And Wilsifer recovering after that earlier incident. So right now, he's still in the running for a potential top 5 in this thing. And Ronnie Norman takes a look on the inside of Evan Patinko for position, not able to pull it off yet.
Yeah, and you see Ronnie, he's messing with a few different lines, trying to see what works. This doesn't look like the easiest track to get past, so he's trying a couple different lines. And the thing that's going to be interesting to see as this run goes on is in practice, with the oval refresh, none of us really know what the tires are going to do at this track. So this first extended stint will be the first chance that these drivers get to see how their tire wear is going to be and what lines help or hurt that tire wear.
Yeah, definitely feeling it out. I know each one of these drivers have had to use every single track as kind of a reintroduction to that track. With this oval refresh that's happened and the addition of the surface heat up, it's just a whole new thing. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to run as many laps as I would like, as Ronnie Norman now works his way under Evan Patinko for that 6th position, and he'll take that position. Patinko on that high side, he's going to try to fight back, and not able to do it quite yet. Patinko still holding on to that top spot, and now finally Ronnie Norman able to clear him and move securely up into that 6th spot, but still over 2 seconds up the road to get to Jared Hughes. We'll see whether he can overcome that in the next 14 laps until we get to our checkered flag on this first stage. Adam Buzzio slides up the track, or excuse me, no, I'm watching the 51 there of Zachary King slide up the track as Buzzio laps him, and the 77 of Gavin Rogers right behind. Stephen Borbell falling off of this lead too, just a little bit, but Rogers right there close to Buzzio, and we can't count out Adam Buzzio from this regular season championship. He's pretty secure in the Chase Championship, but at the same time, everybody in the top 4 is still going for this regular season championship. So if Adam can get stage points, if he can get the overall race win here tonight and kind of clean up, sweep the weekend like Gavin Rogers has been able to do, hey, we may be talking about a new championship contender come our next race.
And what's really interesting is a few laps ago, Rogers was a little bit more behind, and it looks like he's changed to a lower line. He and Buzzio were running a very similar line earlier in the race, and now it looks like Rogers has went to a bit of a lower line and is caught up to Buzzio. So I'm wondering if he's now noticed a line that works more for him and for his tires.
It is interesting, and I'm noticing that Gavin Rogers is now ducking underside Adam Buzzio. Just as you mentioned that, it is possible that Gavin switched up and decided, okay, I'm going to make my move. I was thinking he was really close to Adam. Like it didn't look like he was just wanting to run his teammates first and second. It did look like he was getting ready to change positions. So right now, Gavin Rogers, your new leader. About another 7 laps to go until we get to our stage break. Stephen Borbell right now running in 3rd spot, about 1.5 seconds back from this group. So with that little bit of side-by-side running, Borbell able to catch up just a little bit. Dustin Stallings now 2.6 seconds back, and only a second difference now from Hughes back to Ronnie Norman. So it's possible that Norman may be able to track in and get up to Jared Hughes here momentarily and possibly take over that top 5 position. That would be something for Ronnie, who is currently your hard charger, up 6 positions thus far. Back up front, Gavin Rogers. He's only got about 5 more laps to take this first stage. He's just dotting his I's and crossing his T's and making sure he gets around everybody who he has to lap safely. And right now, this action on the track is the one to watch for with Hughes and Norman. As
And I think that, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, it's just like half a second now. So it's getting very close. And then Evan Patinko still close in on that battle as well.
And I think it's a bit of a scary thing for the rest of the field to see Rogers, who has been on such a great run lately, all starting to check out a little bit at front after he got that pass. He's definitely seemed to have found the rhythm, and I wonder if, starting with the next stage, if you'll see a few other drivers trying to copy his line that seems to be working really well.
That is for sure. I know a lot of these drivers will be talking over their radio, and certainly as we go to the stage break here in another 2 laps, they'll be chiming in with whatever they know. But as we watch with Gavin Rogers, he's got just one more lap after this to be able to pull off this first stage victory. And you can see he does kind of clip in about halfway through turns 1 and 2. He just pulls it just below that first lane dotted line, and really similar line in turns 3 and 4. Now here he goes a little bit lower, perhaps expecting to get around this lap car, show him his nose a little bit. But as he finishes up this lap and will take us to the checkered flag on this first stage, Gavin Rogers, he is your first stage victor. Second spot is going to Adam Buzzio, and third to Stephen Borbell, fourth to Dustin Stallings, and fifth to Jared Hughes. So Ronnie had gotten very close there to Jared, but not able to overtake. We're going to step aside for just a moment here. We'll let you check out the butt kicker, because hey, isn't that a pretty cool thing? I certainly would love to have one in my sim rig. I'm sure you would too, Kaylin. But let's check out the ad for good old butt kicker, and we'll be back here in just a moment on VirtualRacing.Network with stage number 2. Stay tuned. And welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network. Just finished up stage number 1. And it was Gavin Rogers who took some more bonus points home. He keeps adding to that bonus points total. But of course, tonight is all about Adopt a Dog 225. And really, it's about donating to your local animal rescue shelter. What great facilities they are, and they do such a fantastic job in the community. I've been able to, in the past, rescue one dog from a rescue facility and bring it home, and that worked out very well. Of course, many dogs come from different places. You get given them as friends, from friends, and but what a great way, if you're looking for a dog, to help out the issue. And of course, I was looking over at ASPCA and the statistics. A lot of people doing that right now. It's great. They are going and adopting dogs and cats in large numbers. I'm also a big cat fan. Definitely, I know, Kaylin, you were telling me off air, you're also a big cat fan. But what a great way to help out the issue. And of course, those rescue facilities are there because Many people bring them in as strays. They're not prepared to take care of those animals, etc. So if you can possibly go out there and go to your local rescue shelter and bring home an animal and take care of it the way that it needs to be taken care of. There's so many classes, so many YouTube, so many different books available to learn how to do it. Make sure to head on out there and do that. And also make sure to donate to your local animal shelter. They have so many operating expenses. We're back under green here at the BRB Buttkicker round number 8 at Kern County Raceway. Adam Buzzio in the lead. Second place, Gavin Rogers. Ronnie Norman has managed under the pit cycle to get up to 4th, and now he's challenging Stephen Borbell for 3rd. Storm and Ronnie Norman back at it again.
And yeah, you can never count out Ronnie. He's always going to seem to find a way to be competitive.
Oh, there he goes.
And that is a commentator's curse right there.
You've done it so well, Kalen. It's your first time. You've already gotten the curse in. Good for you. Well, Ronnie got a little loose on the high side. We're going to go back and take a look at it. It does bring out a caution as he was stopped down low. Let's see exactly what took place here. He was racing on the high side of Borbell there, and as we jump to the chopper cam, see what happened. Is this just a case of cold tires getting the best of him? I think it is. He just gets loose mid-corner, kind of goes back and forth, shimmies back and forth, and then comes down and hits the inside. And
yeah, he'd been using that line to get through traffic in the last stint, but I think it was just a little bit early in this stint to try that. I do believe we stayed green in that process, though.
I thought the yellow had come out, but you're absolutely right, and then the yellow did actually come out. Fortunately, Ronnie didn't tag anyone else, including Borbell, and so I guess we did stay green. But let's go back and see what happened to Jared Hughes. I had thought there was a yellow flag, but I guess this is the incident that brought it out. There's Wolsifer underneath Hughes, and Hughes goes around and collects a couple of machines. That's the 91 of Patrick Hernandez that's involved as well.
It's such a shame for Patrick because he's been having a decent race and he really needed one. Let's hope that he's able to fast repair and it won't impact him too much long term.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough to tell who's. Yeah, we don't have a indicator to see who is taking or who has taken their fast repair. It's something only the drivers know until the end of the race. But Hughes there was also having a great race up in the top 5 and just suffering from exactly the same thing that we have seen catch out. What? This has got to be 5-6 drivers caught out by this cold tires, just maybe up in that upper lane, trying to get on the gas a little bit early, and around comes the car.
Yeah, it just seems like early in the stint you're not able to run that lane, whether it's a tire heat and track heat. It's probably a bit of both combined, to where you need to heat up that line along with the tires so that you're not losing it so much on that high side. Because that high side exit does seem to be the faster based on watching Rogers late in the stint do it, but it's going to take a little bit of time to work your tires into being able to do that. So I think it's catching some drivers out not being able to do what they were able to do at the end of the stint.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that unfamiliarity. Again, you could go out there and practice speed, but until you get a full race or 2 or 5 under your belt at a track, you just don't know how it's going to race from cold tires to hot and under these cautions. Just something you got to go through. And certainly at a track like this, Kern County, there's the progressive banking, which is not something that we see at other tracks. You may not be used to the fact that, it changes 2-3 degrees as you go up the track. And on cold tires with the new oval refresh, all of this kind of presenting different issues. Ronnie Norman there, seeing pit road, deciding to top off. This could be another very strategic play from Ronnie Norman. We'll have to see how this works out, but Still 100 and 50 laps to go till the end of this one. So here we go. Adam Buzzio gets this one going again here at Kern County, and he leads it. Gavin Rogers, Stephen Borbell, his teammate, racing side by side for position. There's Dustin Stallings into fourth, and just behind Evan Patinko, but Buzzio back in the lead, which is where he spent a lot of that first stage.
And if you notice, right at the beginning, Rogers stayed very close to the inside. I think he's a little bit worried about that spin. If you notice early in the stint, Rogers is staying very much more inside than any of the lanes that he was using later in his stint when he worked through traffic. So I think that first couple laps of him cycling. Oh, as Evan around.
Evan has managed to find himself turned backwards on the track, which Barney the Flag Man decided warranted the yellow handkerchief to come out. So let's take a look at what the cause was here. It looks like we may already be partially into it, so we'll jump back here and jump overhead, which seems to be the best way to check it out. Sundance Pizza out of Wickenburg, Arizona, providing us with these terrific replays here. Evan Patinko. Oh, you know, it doesn't even look like he made contact with Wolsifer, but Wolsifer also got loose. It was like the track turned to ice there. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was a very interesting incident there. I'm not sure if that was I'm looking in the mirrors and see somebody wreck and take action, a bit of evasive action that you didn't need to, or if we had a bit of net code there.
Well, it does look like it could be both. As from that angle, you can see Wolsifer perhaps took evasive action and shot up the track. Let's take a look at how it looked from Patinko's point of view, as you'll see him here kind of get on the gas a little bit too much. It starts to come around on him. Once again, fortunate that no one else besides Wolsifer caught up in that one. Patinko has to get it going once again. So, rough going here for a lot of these drivers early on. Some of them having to use up those fast repairs, probably a lot more than they would like to. We're going to step aside for just a moment. We'll be right back here on VirtualRacing.Network. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a second. And welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network. I'm Trevor Greenfield. Joining me here in the booth is Kalen Davies. We're watching the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series, race number 8 of its inaugural season here from Kern County Raceway. And there's been quite a few cautions because these drivers have really had trouble with the banking. They've had trouble figuring out this track and getting their throttle response just right. Kalen, you were just saying something that you felt like you kind of noticed some similarities with this in street stocks.
Yeah, it seems like this track is creating some of the problems that you see in a lot of street stock racing, especially places like South Boston, where you see a lot of slipping and a lot of difficult lines, as we have three cars involved right now in the outside wall. Looks like it started with the number 2 car and kind of collected a few people in the process.
Yeah, well, we're going to compare it to a street stock race. I guess this is kind of like street stock races. A lot of starts and goes. Stephen Borbell right now having trouble. This is the first time that he's really had the issue out there. But let's check and see what happened to Borbell as we take a look overhead here. It's on that outside line in the number 2, coming through the corner. Gets loose. I don't know. It kind of almost looked like netcode. Maybe got him.
That is exactly what I was thinking. It looked like he got a bit of a netcode off of Gavin and went into the wall. That wasn't our typical back end goes around on acceleration moment. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like from Steven's view, is that he got a bit of netcode, unfortunately for him, because he's been running a very solid race between being second and third most of the run.
Well, another driver who got mixed up in this, Jeremy Clapper Newell. Here we can see exactly what went down with him. He gets punted from the left. He comes over and tags Borbell on the right-hand side, unfortunately. And, you know, another driver that did not make it out of that one alive. He was just to the right of Clapper Newell. And this, or just to the left, excuse me, with Patrick Hernandez. And the three come together. Patrick Hernandez getting some damage there, more contact with Borbell.
Yeah, I wonder if Patrick got a bump from behind, because the way that he lost it there, I'm interested to see if he got a little bit of help getting around.
Well, thanks to Sundance Pizza, we have all these cameras that we can go and take a look at here. Oh, you know what it looks like is he got that tag from Clapper Newell on the inside. We'll take one more look at this one. See if we can bounce it back to up above. So Clapper Newell comes over and tags him, and that's what brings him back over there towards Borbell. But
once again, Patrick getting caught up in a mess that he didn't create, unfortunately, as he seems to get the unlucky dog of the race.
We would hate to have to award that as an actual trophy, but yeah, he does appear to be the unlucky dog of the race for sure. Caitlin, I love it. But yeah, this has been an interesting one. It's a slippery one, and you know, a lot of times in these types of races, you know, for example, I've driven the IndyCar and short tracks, you know, Dover, you know, tracks, New Hampshire, places where that car just never should be. You drive high horsepower, low downforce cars on tracks like this. The number one thing you got to keep in mind is, of course, patience, but patience on throttle, patience on brakes, patience rolling through corners, patience with the tires. You've got to exhibit that patience, patience with other drivers. So important. And, you know, we're only 92 laps into this 225-lap race. You're not going to win it on lap number 92. You definitely need to make sure that you keep the car under you and you don't suffer, as it looks like Matthew Erickson down on the low line here in the Razor 28.
Yeah, not too sure what happened that had him down there. It looked like a little bit of a cluster towards the back. I don't know if he got caught up in that or just got caught up trying to avoid it, but definitely looked to be a little bit of a backup in that mid-pack.
Oh, and this is exactly what happened. He just got loose exiting the corner. He had well exited the corner, and then the car started to turn around on him. It's just, I don't want to say this track is not built for the likes of these cars, but it's not probably the most ideal track for these cars, but that's what makes it so much of a challenge. And right now we're seeing Gavin Rogers out there able to pedal this car pretty much better than anyone else. Adam Buzzio holding on strong there in second. Dustin Stallings has now taken over third as a result of surviving through Steven Borbell dropping back. And right now, Borbell still on the lead lap, but all the way back in 13th position. What that's done is it's moved Brendan Maddox back to where he qualified, up there in 4th position. So right now, back in the top 5 and potentially looking at a decent race, although you can see the front on that Maddox machine has a definite bend in it. It is, that is caved in. The Castle IO machine started a lot more square than that one is right now. So he's doing his best with what he's got out there, folks. And he's running up on the back of Dustin Stallings, perhaps looking at taking over 3rd with a bent-up race car.
At this point, maybe it's adding a little bit of downforce that's helping him get around the corner, because it seems like everybody else is struggling with clean cars to keep their downforce.
You never know. I've seen it in real-life NASCAR racing many a times where they get a little bit of damage, usually to the right front fender. It brings the car down or brings it flared up, and it just seems to create the right amount of downforce for the car. Never really know how it's going to work out here on iRacing, but so far it's working out pretty well for Brendan Maddox. Carl Pooler right now back in 5th position for Limitless Esports. He's doing a bang-up job running in the top 5, but he's got a mirror full of Ronnie Norman, who is back into that 6th position after having that incident early on, or earlier on in this stage. Had to come in, take service. As a result, he is back out there, and he's got some of the freshest tires and fuel of anybody, as he came in on lap number 73. Now, just as I say that, Jared Hughes just behind. He actually came in on lap number 79, as did Richard Wolsifer, to take on Repair. Wolsifer just in there for 4.75 seconds to get maybe that car topped off. And he currently rides around in 8th position. And then there is Patrick Hernandez. Hernandez has not yet lost a lap. He's riding right back here in 9th position, so he's still technically in this race in the top 10. And if he can finish in the top 10, he might very well sneak into that top 10 in the points and get himself into the chase. Evan Patinko, he was up towards the top 5. Now he's back in 10th. But right now, kind of hopefully counting his chickens as this race goes on. He might still have something to say about a top 10 or possibly a top 5. There's Steven Borbell behind. Clapper Newell still in this one. Erickson still going around. Hall is still on the lead lap. And Zachary King is now down several laps, although it does appear as though he is still in this race. So back up front, though, Gavin Rogers leads by about 3/4 of a second.
And it seems like the longer the run goes, the more Rogers comes into his own. He's taking it a bit easy early in the stint, and that seems to be the secret, is don't push too hard early on, let it come to you, and then he's able to push a little bit harder and have a more aggressive line as the tires heat up and the track heats up.
That's exactly it. Some drivers really excel when they're in the lead. Some drivers like to chase. Gavin pretty much can do it all, but he really does excel when he's got that clear track in front of him. Right now, sitting up about 0.8 of a second in the lead of Adam Buzzio. 3rd place, Dustin Stallings is back about 2.9 seconds from Gavin Rogers at the moment. And then you got to get back here to Brendan Maddox. He's currently running in that 4th spot, and he is a solid 3 and close to a half a second back. Now we see Carl Pooler and Ronnie Norman fighting it out for that 5th spot on track.
And this is a very important run for Maddox, because he needs a couple really solid finishes to have a chance to make the chase. And if he can keep up in this spot, especially with how some of the other guys are running that he's fighting, this is going to be an incredible result for him if he can hold up in these top 4, top 5 positions.
Yeah, definitely. It is really all about just hanging on to the car, just finishing the race, not letting these top fives get away from you. Certainly, we'd all love to go out there and win. We'd love to take home podiums, but just holding on to the car and making sure you survive to get those top fives. As you see Ronnie Norman go up there, squeeze up into the wall, pancake that machine, the number 32 NOS machine, just a little bit there, and you see, looks like Carl Pooler moving down to the inside of Brendan Maddox. We've got Ashley Pooler joining us over in our YouTube chat room. The Pooler fan club is here, rooting on the number 71 of Carl Pooler. She says, nice work, Carl. Let's go, number 71. He goes to the inside on Brendan Maddox. He's looking for the position. Still down to the inside. Is he going to be able to hold on? Looks like Maddox with that high line able to drag race him down the straightaway, but Pooler able to take over in the corner. Will he be able to hold on and take that position? It's still side by side, but I think Pooler's now finally taking it. Ronnie Norman moves to the inside. Is Norman going to try to take advantage of Pooler and Pooler being a little bit out of position? Here comes Norman, and he is not able to try to challenge Pooler. Pooler safely up into fourth, Ronnie Norman into fifth, and Brendan Maddox back to sixth place.
Yeah, Maddox got strung out a little bit on that high line. He did a great job trying to make it work. I was a little worried for him. That's a tough line to run without spinning it, and he did a great job of trying to make it work, but you just can't hold the same type of speed on that outside line the way the guys on the inside were. So he got strung out there a little bit and lost some positions as a result.
Well, it's kind of stacked up here coming back from Carl Pooler. As you can see there, the number 56 working under the 33.
Oh, and looks like the 33, and it was at the 96 to get? No. Trying to see who got into it with the 33.
I think the 91 possibly is back here, but the 33 did have a moment.
Yeah, it looked like somebody got into his rear end and spun when they hit him, or at least went down to the inside afterwards.
Well, that is going to close out our stage. So Gavin Rogers taking the second stage there, and it does appear as though, was that Borbell in the 91? Hernandez there in the 91, who brings out the yellow flag. As we'll take a look here. Everybody coming into the pits now as we're under yellow. And the second stage break is on. Gavin Rogers once again taking that victory. Adam Buzzio taking second place. And you can see Hernandez pirouetting down the track there.
Yeah, it looks like the 33 might not have noticed him on the inside there after battling with the 96 ahead, and just came down and they made contact. It's one of those spots that looks like kind of a blind spot thing, so the 33 just may not have realized that he was there.
Does happen. In the meantime, that does bring out our second stage break, I believe. Did I get that right? 120. Yes, it was 120, so just wanted to make sure. The caution came out a little early, but that does officially end the stage. So Gavin Rogers taking the victory there. Will he be able to celebrate in victory lane at the end of the Adopt a Dog 225? Stay tuned here on VirtualRacing.Network. We'll be right back. In the meantime, you can check out all the fine food that awaits you over at Sundance Pizza in Wickenburg, Arizona. Stay tuned. Welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network. This has been an amazing race so far here in round number 8 at Kern County Raceway, the Adopted Dog 225. Reminding you, it's always a good time to donate to your local rescue shelter for animals. You can always volunteer, and certainly if you have the availability to properly care for an animal, go on in there and adopt an animal. Why not? Gavin Rogers, your leader through that last stage, and Adam Buzzio in second place. That makes 2 stages in a row for Gavin Rogers, who adds to that points total. We'll see if he can keep it clean here. And I know, Kalen, you were just saying, really, it's been all Gavin's show tonight. He's been on the money so far.
Yeah, we talked in the beginning that the unknowns of this race might lead to an odd result and other people having a chance to claw back some of that lead, but it's really just been Gavin showing his class and, most importantly, patience. It's not just that he went out and dominated by being the fastest. He's been extremely patient in how he's been approaching the racing.
As we're taking a look at this Sundance Pizza replay of this incident between Hernandez, who just kind of comes up the track a little bit into Clapper Newell, you're absolutely right. He's been patient. It's been lap after lap after lap of Next Level Motorsports really being able to dominate the front of this race and protect each other from any sort of onslaught. They have not had to worry about anybody coming up and attacking them from behind. And perhaps Ronnie Norman will have something to say about it, or Dustin Stallings, but so far they've been kind of MIA up towards the front of this group. As we watch on board here with Clapper Newell, perhaps he was a little bit too far down in the corner. Maybe he thought for some reason that Patrick Hernandez would be a little bit further down the track. Unfortunately, these two having it coming together. Hernandez still in pit lane. Erickson just about to exit pit lane. David Hall is parked at the moment. And it does look like he's now a couple of laps down, so I'm not sure if that machine will return. Oh, he does. He does get that one going again. Clapper Newell also a couple of laps down, so he'll have to work to get that one back underway. Now, for the Patrick Hernandez fans in the crowd, he is on pit lane, taking on damage repair, but he has not yet gone down a lap, so we're watching to see. He does get out of the pit safely, so he will stay on that lead lap, and will he possibly be able to get the finish that he needs to climb up into the chase group at the top end of the standings? We'll have to find out, as we've got just under 100 more laps to go here. We'll be right back on VirtualRacing.Network. Take a little commercial break, and we'll see you in just 2 minutes. Stay tuned. Welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network under our 7th caution for incidents. And we are back underway now, as Gavin Rogers will lead us back into turn number 1. Adam Buzzio in second place. Dustin Stallings in third. Still figuring it out back here in third spot. Cooler moves in behind Dustin Stallings. But hey, Richard Wolsifer is now up into the top 5, 8 positions gained in this race. Ronnie Norman there as well to challenge on the outside. He's not able to do it. Wolsifer having a look down the inside of Carl Pooler.
And what's going to be interesting is to see if some of these guys who've been running fast but not been able to get up to the front, if they're able to get up to the rear end of these three guys at front that have been kind of leading there from the beginning, and be able to put some pressure on them, if that changes how they race a little bit.
Well, and you don't want to you don't want to be just looking ahead. Unfortunately, for some of these drivers that are trying to get up there and chase Rogers and Buzzio up in the front, Steven Borbell, who was up there with those top three drivers just a moment ago, he's coming through this field in a hurry as well. Right now, up into the 8th spot. Don't look, he is moving ahead in a hurry, but Carl Pooler got it a little loose off of that last corner. As a result, Ronnie Norman, Richard Wilsifer able to take advantage. Pooler now falling through the field. Jared Hughes able to take the position as well. On the outside, is he going to be able to hold on to that? It does appear he is. Now Patinko comes calling on Carl Pooler, and we've got Zachary King and David Hall in an incident. Hall has, it appears as though King has jumped to the pits, but I believe Hall has also done the same. So we'll have to back it up here and see exactly what went down. I think it's Hall who has the incident first, and perhaps King gets into this incident, but let's take a look. And looking overhead, see Hall there. And
it looks like Hall gets a bit up high and then tries to come out of the corner on throttle and just loses it.
I'm not sure the part where King gets involved. Perhaps we'll see it here. Still watching to see. I don't know if King had a totally separate incident. Because I have a note that King crashed. So let's take a look here. We'll try to dive straight in on King's crash. There, he gets a little wobbly, but no, he continues. Should be having this happen here momentarily. Unless our software decided to not participate. Ah, I see. A blink out there possibly from King causing that to happen. So either way, we are under caution here at Kern County once again. David Hall, the latest driver to have a little bit of a issue in that number 21 machine. But so far, it has been the Gavin Rogers show. Adam Buzzio also leading some laps, doing a bang-up job in his next level motorsports machine tonight, racing with that Tri-Vista on the side and on the hood. Gavin Rogers out there in the Buttkicker machine. And then you can see Dustin Stallings there in the number 10 Ford Bass Pro on board for tonight's race. A lot of these drivers, of course, last time out was the breast cancer awareness race, so many of the drivers were out in specialty breast cancer awareness paint schemes, still carrying that number 10 apparently in iRacing for Dustin. That's why it's showing up as pink for us. But looks like Dustin pulling alongside the number 77 of Rogers and having a few words.
Well, I think we didn't get to see how it happened, but I think Stallings got ahead of Buzzio before the caution.
Oh, interesting. Well, no, I did not see that, but have to take a look back and see if I can try and find your... Well, I see Stallings passing Carl Pooler. Well, anyway, all done and dusted now. It's Dustin Stallings on the inside of Adam Buzzio as they head in the corner on lap number 142. Buzzio... Oh, there's Ronnie Norman able to get by Jared Hughes. into that 4th spot. And here comes Evan Patinko now working on Jared Hughes as well.
Yeah, Stallings in that inside line looked like he got a late jump, and the entire outside line started coming around, and I think that helped guys like Norman get through as that inside line stalled, and Buzzio was able to get around Stallings anyway, even though he was starting in 2nd place.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes people will miss a gear. Very common, as we're now under yellow once again for Gavin Rogers. What? No, that can't be right. So, no, it's Patrick Hernandez. Just reading through my notes here in my software. Looks like it is Patrick Hernandez who had a moment here. Let's check this one out. Patrick Hernandez going into the corner. Looks like he just tries to stay off of Brendan Maddox, and as a result, he gets it a little crossed up coming through the corner. We'll go back and take one more look at this from on board, and more than likely, it's just evasive action, trying not to get into Maddox in the corner. Looks like a little bit of brake lock. And he gets down onto that apron, and that is around she goes.
And unfortunately for Patrick, this is kind of cut and paste for a few incidents that he's had in the race, where it seems his attempts to come through traffic keep ending up in similar situations for him.
Yeah, and I don't know how this is going to work out with race control. They have said that they're going to tighten up on single car incidents if it continues. He may actually find himself parked, but right now it looks like he's going to get back out there, and he's going to be able to run around. No harm, no foul. Nobody else damaged in the incident. So deemed to be okay to return. Ronnie Norman taking 4 tires there. They had 5 total sets of tires to take in the pits. And so, of course, they'll be allocating it. But right now, Ronnie, the only one to come in on lap 146.
It's a bit of an interesting strategy. He'll be able to have fresher tires, but as we've seen, coming through that field can be a very dangerous process. I'm a bit surprised that he did it once he was finally getting up towards the front, but we'll see if it works out for him, if we indeed get a long run and he'll have much fresher tires.
Well, this is, of course, not the first time this season that we've seen Ronnie Norman make this aggressive early undercut pit call strategy. He's done this before. He did it to great success several races ago, was able to take victory here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series on fuel strategy. And of course, coming in and taking the tires that he did, he was able to really chip into the lead. But as you've said, it's very difficult to pass at a track like this little short track. He's going to have to really fly around multiple drivers on this start in order to be able to have a chance to use those fresh tires and go up there and get around first and second. If this goes for, say, more than 10 or 20 laps and he has not been able to get around those top 2, that fresh tire advantage will be pretty much all gone, except for the very end of this race. So will it be a fuel strategy move that wins him the race by coming in so early? Do the others still need to pit for fuel? We'll find out here. Let's watch together. The green flag is back in Barney the Flag Man's hands. Gavin Rogers leads us back into turn number 1. Dustin Stallings under Adam Buzzio for second place. There goes Dustin, and he is unable to work his way past on that lap, but he still keeps in it. Meanwhile, watching back, Ronnie Norman still stuck in 12th place. Dustin Stallings, your new second place driver.
And that was a much better restart there from Stallings this time around. He got a great jump at the flag and did a really good job getting underneath Buzzio to get that second place.
Well, he's holding a nice little gap there over Buzzio. Stallings now holding his own here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series. A little bit of a change in position back here. Stephen Borbell wants to get back up there. chased his friends, and it looks like Richard Wilsifer has had another moment, and he's gone around. Yeah, well, it'd been a whole few laps since our last caution, so figured why not another one. Richard Wilsifer here. Let's check out what took place between the 56 and the 33. Can get the overhead shot. Sundance Pizza blimp providing us this coverage here as Richard Wilsifer heads into the corner there, and it looks like he gets a little love tap from the 33 to send him around.
Yeah, it looks like Wilsifer checked up a little bit mid-corner, and the 33 got in a bit deep, and they just came together in that corner. Really unfortunate incident for the 56, as he was taking a pretty smart line. Not sure if Maddox would have been able to carry that speed all the way out of the corner, but they were running a different line, so it's a little bit harder to tell. But as the guy behind, it's a little bit of your responsibility to do that safely. So a bit of a shame for the 56 there.
Definitely. Really unfortunate, but this is not the first time he's had to wear someone else's incident this race. So Wilsifer seems to have a bullseye painted somewhere on that car, and other drivers seeming to not be able to avoid that. But Wilsifer going to get it back under control here. We are under caution for our 10th incident-based caution. Ashley Pooler out there in our YouTube chat room rooting on Richard Wilsifer, number 56. We appreciate that as well. Really big cheerleader for Limitless Esports out there in our YouTube chat. Ashley Pooler putting in the overtime support duties. And now you got Carl Pooler for that team up in the 4th position. Richard Wilsifer in 8th. So,
and it looks like Norman's gamble has paid off already, because Buzzio now pits and goes down to 11th, and Norman, after that caution, is up to 7th.
That is absolutely huge. Unfortunately for Ronnie Norman, he does have Stephen Borbell from Next Level Motorsports, who was running in the top 3. He's now back into 3rd, but how about Stephen Borbell's climb back up the charts? It's been a long time working, but he has finally managed to make it back into podium position again after getting caught out in the earlier incident. Stephen Borbell now back into 3rd.
Yeah, he's done a great job to make up for that incident that really wasn't his fault, just kind of caught up in the mess that has been some of the segments of this race, and he has done an incredible job to get himself all the way back up to what looks like 2nd position if he can outfight Stallings here in this corner.
And they are fighting hard, but looks like Ronnie Norman has now drifted back on that restart a couple of positions. He's now fallen back into the 8th spot, now moves up into 7th, and back up in front this challenge for 2nd place. Stephen Borbell gonna try it on the outside on Dustin Stallings. Stallings holding that low line, able to still keep a nose on Borbell into the corner, but they are neck and neck as they come through turns number 2 onto that back stretch. But it is Borbell who emerges in the lead in 2nd place. So Borbell...
Yeah. Stallings got a little bit deep in that corner and had to get a little harder on the brakes, and that was just enough of an opening for Borbell to get around him on the outside and into 2nd place.
Fantastic race here in different aspects. This is one of the great parts of it, is seeing some of these drivers recovering from these incidents, having to work their way back through the field. Borbell there into 2nd place after drifting all the way back. Buzzio had to pit, now in 9th place. And Ronnie Norman, after starting at the back, he's somehow found some speed. He took a gamble strategy, now working on the high side. You see the 51 there of Zachary King and David Hall now circulating on the low side on the track, just coming back out from the pits. But Norman right now sitting in the 7th spot. He's got Richard Wolsifer in front of him, who has recovered from his incident. So now up in the 6th spot, Carl Pooler in 5th. Patrick Hernandez. How many times have we called this guy's name as being involved in an incident? Now he's up into 4th place. So will this all come down to strategy, to pit strategy? Did Ronnie Norman's early pit strategy play out in a way that is going to benefit him at the end of this race? Are we getting enough caution flags that it won't matter? This is going to be phenomenal how this one ends up, as multiple drivers under a different strategy. Brendan Maddox right now just causing this caution. It looks like he was running at the tail end of the group there. As you can see, just up in front, the 96 and the 5, that's Buzzio. And there the 33 goes around.
And that's basically a copy and paste incident from what we've seen from so many drivers exiting turn 2. You get to where it looks like you're okay on the straight, and it just comes around as soon as you apply that full acceleration.
Yeah, that's pretty much a perfect description of it. Here we ride on board with Maddox. Looks like it just... the car almost bottomed. If we can go back a little bit, it really looks like it almost bottoms in the middle of the corner. You could just... I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like the car bottoms, or it definitely changes its attitude through the corner, and Maddox kind of tries to throttle it in, but unable to get it to successfully throttle up. I don't know if he just took on extra fuel. I'm not sure exactly what happened there coming through the corner, but same thing, ultimately the same result. Maddox spins it around and brings out our 11th caution for incidents. But this is interesting, as Gavin Rogers has decided to go ahead and pit, and as a result, with Adam Buzzio pitting earlier, this leaves only Stephen Borbell up in the top spot, with Ronnie Norman in 2nd. Adam Buzzio, having pitted a little bit after Ronnie Norman, now holding on to 3rd spot. So Borbell pitting on lap 137, about 9 laps earlier than Ronnie Norman on 146. Who knows how the strategy is going to work out? There's no way I can calculate this one out, but it will be interesting to watch it unfold here, as we've just got about 55 laps to go here towards the end of this race.
And as we mentioned before, with Rogers, he is amazing running out in the lead, but he did have some issues a little bit earlier getting into that lead place. So it's going to be fascinating to see if he's able to cut his way through traffic with the same speed that he was able to have out front, or if the guys in front who pitted earlier have played out a masterclass strategy in order to take some points off of a guy who's basically been dominating the series the last month.
Yeah, that is all well said, and you're absolutely right. Will Gavin Rogers be able to put together some of that electricity coming through the field as we have seen him employ before? It seems like once he gets a bit between his teeth, he is ready to go. How about Adam Buzzio? He was ready to go. He jumped to the outside of Ronnie Norman, and he's able to take over that 2nd spot from Ronnie Norman. So now Next Level Motorsports 1-2, as we appear to have a giant pileup back here. Multiple cars involved. Carl Pooler, Richard Wolsifer of Limitless eSports involved. I believe Matthew Erickson was involved in that one as well. This is not good for Limitless eSports.
Yeah, they have not had the greatest day, and this is going to add to that in unfortunate ways.
Well, we watch on here, and it looks like it's all about that 10 car of Dustin Stallings losing control and multiple vehicles running into him. We'll back it up one more time here. Look overhead here. Just keep your eyes on that number 10 machine in the center of your picture. And, I mean, that he's practically on the straightaway and the thing gets away from him.
And that's something that we've seen now a couple times where drivers will get almost all the way to the straightaway and just start to lose it a little bit. It looked like the back stepped out just tiny, and his correction took him head on into the wall.
Well, one of the things that the great Christian Snyder used to point out here on VirtualRacing.Network, it's possible that there's something about the seam transition on the high side on the track on the exit. We've seen this at places like Charlotte and Atlanta. That seam can, and you can see it there in the black on the track on that high lane. Sometimes that transition, certainly onto the back straight, can upset the car just a little bit. I don't know if that's it, if it's the banking transition, but something is definitely upsetting these cars as they unload onto the straightaway. So stalling's the latest one to cause the issue, and we'll take a look at what Richard Wolsifer saw in this incident here just a moment ago. As you can see, multiple drivers now heading into pit lane. Here's Wolsifer and what he saw, and right into the 10, and you can see his teammate Carl Pooler pulled into that as well.
And you make a valid point about the seam. As we were watching that replay, I was looking at the back tires, and it was right getting ready to cross over that seam. It almost reminds me of Fontana, the way that if you get on a seam in Fontana, you just lose it right away. And I think you might be onto something with the seam coming onto that straightaway as what's catching drivers out.
Well, I I've done lots of laps at Fontana. I used to know it as California Speedway back in the day. Of course, it's Auto Club Speedway now, but Fontana definitely has that seam issue. And I've actually driven in real life on that track in an Indy car at about 180 miles an hour, and you can feel that. I mean, it's really something that I really would love every real fan to be able to feel it in real life. It is like it wants to rip the steering wheel right out of your hands as you go over that transition. But here we are back to green flag racing here at Kern County Raceway. Just over about 40 laps to go in this one, as Stephen Borbell has taken over the lead from Adam Buzzio, but Gavin Rogers has come back through. He's now challenging his next closest rival in the championship, Ronnie Norman. Gavin Rogers on that low side, Norman on the high side. Who's it going to be? Into the corner, it's still side by side. Rogers ekes ahead as they go across the start-finish stripe.
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward restart, and Gavin was able to get a really good jump while some of the guys in the front stumbled a little bit, and fully takes advantage of it. And I guess we have a bit of the answer to our question, how quickly he'd be able to get himself back to the front after what seemed to be a bit of a problem with strategy.
Yeah, they all kind of decided they needed to make an emergency trip down into the pits to get that final stop done. So they did so under caution, able to get it done. But Rogers, as I've said, once he gets that bit between his teeth, he is as aggressive as they can be out there right now, trying to make a move, perhaps underneath Adam Buzzio again for the second time this race.
And as the driver's in the front, knowing that you had such a jump on him when he was the last one to make the pit stop of that group, it's got to be a bit daunting to see that red hood in your mirrors so early on.
Yeah, you don't, you always think that you can go out there and beat anybody on the track. That's part of the racer's credo, so to speak. But really, when you see that red car tonight of Gavin Rogers. I mean, if it's in your mirrors, you feel like there's no escaping this one. He's going to get by, and certainly if he's gotten by you, well, you're doing your best to try to come in behind this guy, because so far tonight nobody has been able to beat him square up. It's been Gavin Rogers getting underneath other drivers. Right now, Gavin taking a look on that low line. He's able to hold that low line on entry and exit. He's just able to make that car do things that other drivers can't do.
Yeah, and that is kind of the key to where it seems like most of the drivers towards the front can only be fast on one line, where Gavin seems to be able to adjust to what line is needed to get by people, and then has a separate line for once he's out front to pull a gap.
And that's all key parts of having put in a lot of laps, being very experienced, knowing how to lead, knowing how to make passes, knowing what it takes to put your equipment in the right window to be able to make those passes. Right now, Gavin Rogers, he may have struggled earlier on in this season, and Ronnie Norman may have been able to take advantage, but right now, Gavin Rogers is really the cream of the crop here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series, and he is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it seems to have taken him a bit to get used to the new oval refresh and how these next-gen cars were going to deal with it, but now that he understands the window, it's a very scary proposition for everyone, seeing how good he has been in the last few races. And this is the race that you expected could trip him up, and he has been about as flawless as you can be.
Yeah, certainly. There's a couple of races on the calendar that I thought might be the ones that could trip him up, but he has proven, Gavin has, that he seems to have all of the different track types, and he seems to be able to race in any discipline, in any situation, coming from the back, racing at the front. He is definitely a championship contender in every sense of the word. And now Norman taking a look on the low side on Stephen Borbell here for that third spot, as Buzzio now works a second ahead of this group. So Norman able to take over that third spot from Borbell, and we'll see whether or not Norman can. I mean, he's got the older tires of this group. Gavin Rogers, 20-lap newer tires. Buzzio, 10-lap newer tires. And Borbell, 10-lap older tires. So that perhaps explains why exactly Rogers running first, Buzzio in second, Norman in third, and Borbell in fourth, because that is exactly the order upon which they got their tires.
Yeah, and for Norman, even if he comes away from this race third, fourth position, he has to take that as a bit of a positive sign, because we saw in practice he was struggling to figure out the line. In qualifying, he had some errors and was really struggling to figure out where the fast part of this track was. And starting from the back and having an eventful race, for him to get up in these top three positions, even though it's not going to help him in the regular season championship, losing more to Gavin, I feel like he's going to be able to take a lot of confidence, because this was a difficult race for him, and he's still currently slated for a good result if he can keep where he is.
That's exactly right, Kalen. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's nights like this that make your championship. This is the night that you remember that you didn't quite have it figured out coming in, but you somehow put it together. Right now, he's possibly looking at a podium position here. And again, for a night where he couldn't even figure out the fast way around the track in qualifying, for him to figure it out during the course of the race and put himself into potential podium position, it's not going to feel like a win, but in some ways it's going to feel as good as a win. Unfortunately, this performance is not going to be good enough to put him up into the points higher, and this is the type of thing that might help to start to solidify the regular season championship for Gavin Rogers. But then again, for Ronnie Norman, this is the type of thing that he might look at in the long run and say, when we get into that chase, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the top 3 every single race, and you better win the race, Gavin, if you want to win this championship.
Yeah, and if we're going to get into the speculative side of things, if you're looking to the future of once we get into the chase, Norman has to feel like one of the biggest contenders because he's willing to take risks. He's willing to be risky on strategy. He's a fast driver, and this could really help him build that next level of confidence to feel like he can challenge Rogers head to head throughout the chase.
Definitely. And of course, we'll see a nice preview of that as we get into the end of this season. Of course, everybody would love to win the inaugural season championship, but the regular season championship also a big factor, and certainly Ronnie's still in the works for that. Anything can happen towards the end of this regular season. So still so much to play for. Lots of drivers, as we talked about, Maddox and Hernandez, Patinko, a lot of these drivers still trying to solidify their way into the chase. And there is just a lot of movement back here in this pack. It's been quite a train of cars back here, led by Evan Patinko, Patrick Hernandez now sitting in 6th place, Brendan Maddox in 7th, Dustin Stallings in 8th. Remember, Dustin was right up there in the top 3 just not that long ago, but now is back here racing in 8th, and he moves, I believe, Brendan Maddox up the track, or Maddox kind of slid up the track a little bit. These two racing very close, and it looks like Wilsifer maybe makes a little bit of contact there with Maddox as well and drives him up the track. These two having had a little bit of contact here earlier on.
I don't want to speculate on anything, but there seemed to be a couple drivers getting a little frustrated with Maddox there. And a few laps ago, Wilsifer had a incredible save on the inside of Maddox, and seemed a little bit like Stallings and Wilsifer were not so gently moving him out of the way in that situation.
Well, it's fun to watch, that's for sure. These drivers using the chrome horn occasionally to try to move each other aside, but either way, race control will be watching all of this action on track, making sure everything is done fairly and according to the rules. Patrick Hernandez up there in the top 5 right now, and will he be able to pull off a little bit of an upset by taking a top 5 position after so many incidents here tonight? Evan Patinko, I'm sure, would love to get up there and take that top 5. You've still got Richard Wilsifer up here near that top 5 in 8th, and Jared Hughes in 9th. Brendan Maddox slid all the way back to 10th. Pooler still on the lead lap, but he's back in 11th at the moment. Matthew Erickson down a lap at the moment. As you can see, Gavin Rogers just coming into the frame and out of the frame there, but Erickson has now gone down a lap. But Rogers, hey, this has been all Rogers show out there tonight. No one has had the speed to challenge him. Buzzio able to hold on to the lead for some laps out of this race, but just not able to have the long run speed of Rogers. Rogers absolutely tearing it up in recent races, and right now there is nobody who looks more like a championship contender than Gavin Rogers, but still so long to go in this regular season championship.
Yeah, and if a team name ever fit more than Next Level, I'm not sure what does, because their entire lineup right now has been amazing, and headed by Rogers, who right now is just completely checked out on the entire field with a tire advantage, and right now a driving advantage on the field, and it is just incredibly impressive to watch him and how good he is on a track that seems to be giving everyone, even the top guys, trouble, and he seems to be the only one who hasn't had any.
Well, this is also part of the race. He just got by, I believe that was Carl Pooler, to put him a lap down. Something that just doesn't get enough credit when you're watching real life racing or here on sim racing. You gotta lap people successfully, and it's true that sometimes lap cars, they just work beautifully. They get out of your way, they stick to the high side, they stick to the low side. But when they're in a battle with each other, or when somebody just decides, you're expecting them to go up the track, they stay down the track, or they stick to the middle of the track and they make you pass them, you really don't know what you got until you actually have to make that pass around the car. And it's just another facet of trying to win these races, that you watch somebody like Gavin Rogers, he successfully gets around all these cars that he needs to. Of course, working his way forward, making the passes on the lead cars like Adam Buzzio and Ronnie Norman, Stephen Borbell. But once he's in the lead, executing at an ultra high level, able to handle all that lap traffic. I mean, you're really watching just a master class right now of not just short track racing, but NASCAR sim racing in general.
Yeah, exactly. And the key that you mentioned there was traffic management. And for those of us who frequent endurance racing, traffic management is always paramount. And it's the same thing, especially when you're dealing with short track racing and stock cars, is you have to not let the traffic hold you up, but you also can't take risks with the traffic because they are slower than you. They're back there for a reason, and you have to be smart on how you deal with that, because your racecraft has to take into consideration what their intent and action is going to be. And that's not an easy thing to figure out, where another person's mind is on the line that they're going to take. You have to be very careful with that, both not losing time and also not being so aggressive that you take yourself out.
Well, and while we were focused on that, and of course all the great things to be said about Gavin Rogers, this battle has closed in. This is Ronnie Norman just behind in the NOS Energy Drink number 32 Toyota, now closed in on the Next Level Motorsports machine of Adam Buzzio for second place. Looks like Norman goes up and touches the wall again. You see the brakes really working hard on that number 5 machine of Buzzio for Next Level Motorsports. Is he going to be able to hold off this charge from Ronnie Norman while there's just 2 more laps to go? Gavin Rogers out there in the lead. Tight race also back for 4th place and 5th place, with Patrick Hernandez possibly going to be able to have a chance at Stephen Borbell. But this is where the race is right here for 2nd place. Ronnie Norman moves down to the inside on Adam Buzzio, about half a straightaway ahead. It's Gavin Rogers. Rogers will pull it across the start-finish stripe in the top spot and win the first ever Kern County Raceway Adopt a Dog 225 here at Kern County.
And what an amazing move by Ronnie Norman on the last lap, right when he needed to have it. And as we talked about confidence going forward, this is going to do so much for Norman. Being able to get up to 2nd after such a difficult day, this is going to be an incredible confidence booster for him. And probably the only thing that'll help him feel good about Gavin dominating this race from start to finish.
Absolutely. And here you can see it, that one more time, that dive on the low line. He manages to get underneath Adam Buzzio, and Buzzio just not able to respond. Not sure if there was a problem with the Buzzio machine, as it looks like Norman able to safely take that 2nd position. We're going to step aside for just a moment here. We will get the final results up on our screen here for you, and we'll be right back with those final results and a chance to chat with our top 3 finishers here. Stay tuned on VirtualRacing.Network. We'll be right back. And welcome back here on VirtualRacing.Network. It was all Gavin Rogers out there tonight, but there was so much more to say about it than just Gavin basically finishing on top. You had such a tough battle throughout the field. Many drivers really struggling to get it exactly right. A lot of drivers having difficulty with their machines and having trouble accelerating. Some of the drivers, Adam Buzzio and Gavin Rogers, kind of heading off track here to go and celebrate. Stephen Borbell also out there somewhere trying to celebrate. I think they've found their way over towards winner's circle. But Gavin Rogers did take victory. He did it cleanly, he did it safely, and what an amazing masterclass he put on out there tonight for Next Level Motorsports. Second place going to Ronnie Norman, and if you had told me that based off of what his qualifying looked like out there, I would say I don't think so. This is probably not his night, but Ronnie did storm forward. He managed to steal second place. Congratulations to him on another great finish here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series. Third place going to Adam Buzzio for Next Level Motorsports. Was almost a second place except for that move there on the last lap from Norman. Stephen Borbell recovers from an earlier incident. He manages to get his way up there into fourth place. Fifth place going to Patrick Hernandez. Somehow recovers from multiple incidents, and that probably will get him into the chase group heading into our next race. Dustin Stallings finishing in sixth place. Seventh to Evan Patinko. Eighth, Richard Wolsifer. Ninth, Jared Hughes. 10th, Brendan Maddox. 11th, Carl Pooler, who had hung on up in that lead group for quite a long time, but unfortunately getting caught up in a late race incident, ends up back there in 11th. Matthew Erickson in 12th. 13th going to Zachary King. 14th to David Hall. 15th, Jeremy Clapper Newell. And I believe that is all of our finishers out there tonight. So third place belonging to, of course, Adam Buzzio, and we're going to see if we can get him into our commentary here and see if we can bring him up to chat with us. Driver the number 5, Adam Buzzio for Next Level Motorsports, finishing in third place. And, you know, I mean, until that very last lap, I could have sworn that you're going to end up in second or first, Adam. Congratulations on a beautiful race and a great pole position. Tell us about your race and your run to third.
Yeah, it was a long race for sure. A lot of yellows, but it's a short track. A lot of people weren't familiar with it, so you're going to have that. But yeah, we took pole. I came into the race with a lot of confidence, man. I really thought I was going to have something for Gavin this week, and I couldn't figure out how to save the tires. Didn't seem to matter what I did or adjusted my entry or my exit. I just couldn't save them. So was feeling pretty good in second there. I saw Ronnie was coming. If I didn't catch that lap traffic, I think it would have been fine. I don't think he would have got me, but I caught him in a bad spot, and I had a hard time getting around him with the tires being the way they were. So we pitted kind of off cycle from, I think, the whole field, actually. I think I was the only one to go down pit road on that yellow. It just seemed like the right time to go, and hindsight could have got away with one more. I was thinking we were going to go green, and we did after the next one, but that, you know, can't predict all of them, but I'm happy with third, man.
Yeah, so many cautions, really difficult to pick and choose the exact right caution to come in on, and if it doesn't work your way on a green flag run, you kind of kick yourself saying, oh, I could have come in on that next one, but Gavin did. He waited until the next one on 166, and then he came in. How crucial were those tire decisions? Did you feel the tires going away? I mean, it certainly did look like Gavin had the best overall tire strategy, and was that what cost you the second place there from Ronnie Norman?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if I would have, I think that the two yellows were separated by about, I don't know, 10 or 12 laps or something like that, but I drove those 12 laps really, really hard trying to get up through the field. And, you know, and Ronnie was quick too. I don't want to take anything away from Ronnie, but if I had a little bit fresher tires, I think we would have definitely come home in second, but third's close. We'll take it.
Well, it was an absolutely beautiful run. Do you have any questions, Killian?
So I was very interested, Adam, in How were the start of those stints? Because it seemed like a very slick track, especially at the start of the stints. Did you notice, especially coming out of the turns, that it was very hard to get the tires in a lane?
Yeah, it was, the tires here were weird. The first, even once the track was rubbered up, when the sun went down, you know, it was still really slick. The exit of the corner, you know, you had to hit it just right to really be able to get a good run off of it. And once you figured that out, you know, it was doable 95% of the time. But there's a couple laps, man, if you miss it, you miss it a lot. And the tire wear here, though, like if you look at your tire wear when you go into pits, it's in the, you know, low to mid 90s, but it was the temperatures here, for whatever reason. So it was just, that's something I'm not used to. I'm used to managing wear as opposed to heat. I know they usually go hand in hand, but I'm not sure what Gavin figured out tonight, but he figured it out.
Well, who else besides, I see the Trivista on your number 5 machine out there gleaming tonight, but who else would you like to thank for your run to third?
Yeah, I want to thank Buttkicker, Sundance Pizza, like you said, Trivista, and Idealies. Thank you guys for everything you do up in the booth tonight. I know tonight might have been a little bit long of a night for you, but I appreciate you guys. Do a great job for us.
Absolutely.
Thank everybody for tuning in, and thank my wife Julie. Thank my teammates too. Good run to Gavin and Steven. 1-3-4 tonight, I think. So.
Yeah, great run from Next Level Motorsports once again. Not 1-2-3, but real close. And, of course, lots of great people to thank. Lots of people make this whole thing fly around. Hey, great job out there, Adam. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, my friend.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
So that is Adam Buzzio. He managed to take third place here tonight. And I've also gotten a chance now to catch up with Mr. Ronnie Norman, Starman Ronnie Norman, as he's known, and he really did work his way through the field tonight. It was quite impressive. Ronnie, we watched you during the qualifying effort, and we both thought that you really didn't know the fast way around this track. It kind of looked like you were trying to figure it out as you were going. I don't know if you had a problem during that qualifying, but either way, you gain 10 spots, you get second place, and you make a last lap move for second. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I just bought this track the other day. My first laps on it were 15 minutes before the race started. So it was a pretty interesting night going in. I wasn't really worried about it, though, because I went back and watched some videos on YouTube from the races back in the day, tried to see where people were running at. I know ARCA ran back. I watched an ARCA race from like 2017 or something. So, yeah, no, got into there. I was running some laps in qualifying, just trying to run as much as I could just to get it down. Just getting off the corner, you just got to be so easy on it on these fresh tires, and then later on in the run, you could get a little bit more, get into it and get out and not have to worry about spinning out. So once the tires warmed up, it felt a lot better. But yeah, no, it was just learning the track, learning the line, figured some stuff out through the race, got some stage points, tried killing myself a couple times. But you know, it was an all-around crazy night. Hopefully the cautions weren't too bad, but stayed out of trouble. And yeah, I kept trying to size up Adam there with laps to go, and I knew that lap traffic was going to help me get to him. And then we got there and tried to get to his back bumper, but it's just so hard to pass here. And you can kind of get some momentum rolling on the high side, but it didn't really work out that well. And I just, like I said, I knew I could get back to the throttle a little bit quicker than he could coming out of 4, and I was able to get to his inside and just threw it down in there for the last lap pass, and he just let me go. So, you know, just happy to, you know, get another podium here. I know basically all I try to do these days is just break up that team over there from getting 1, 2, 3s. I feel like that's just my job these days. So, if I can split them up, I feel like I did a pretty good night. So, yeah, like I said, overall good night. Learned the track. It was a fun track. I got nothing wrong with it. But, yeah, no, like I said, we got second place, and yeah, we'll move on to next week. It's going to be another fun track there when we race some dirt.
Yeah, that should be quite exciting. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But we were talking, Kayla and I were talking during the race about why so many drivers were having trouble with the throttle on, especially on exit. And we started to wonder if it wasn't that seam up in that upper lane. Did you notice any problems with the seam up there Do you think that was causing a problem? Was it just people trying to push too hard on that accelerator on cold tires? What was really the issue out there tonight?
No, that seam definitely caused a problem with some people, I guarantee it. That, like I said, the cold tires. But yeah, you hit that seam just wrong, and you're not ready for it. I mean, you could just be riding and you feel comfortable, and it'll just snap on you, and you really have no idea what's going on until you realize that you came up over the top of it. So I know it got me one time, or I don't know if I was on the high side and I came down, something like that. I just got loose trying to just throttle it out of the corner and stay on the high side. But yeah, no, that seam definitely played a part. You can get loose over it, so yeah, you definitely had to watch out for it.
Yeah, this car especially just really having issues. Kalen, any questions for Ronnie?
Ronnie, one of the things that we were talking about during the race in commentary was you had a rough start to the race with qualifying and the incident that you had. But I wonder if your fight through the field and what you were able to accomplish in getting to second on a night when this wasn't your best track and didn't look like it was going to be one of your best performances, is that giving you a lot of confidence going forward, especially going in the chase, knowing that you can have not your best night and still come home in second?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, coming in and just not even running laps, and I knew these guys have been putting practice laps in all weekend. They've been throwing up so many sessions, and everybody's been in here practicing. So I was like, man, like looking at the practice times, like I was even 12th in practice. So just coming in and trying to get a feel for the track, you're just so fast and trying to get your brake bias set up and this and that. And I found a pretty good brake bias that I liked there. So I think that was the main thing that helped me out. But I did make a little tweak there after qualifying. I changed something, which was kind of, sketchy to do when you ain't tried it, but it ended up working out. But yeah, no, just coming in here and, going from the back to the front a couple times. And then with these cautions playing some, we was able to pit there, and I knew that, with 80 laps to go, you can make it to the end. So I think I was third or fourth. I went ahead and came in and pit just to know I was good to go for the rest of the race. And then I was like, well, I knew Gavin was up front, so I knew he wasn't going to make it on fuel and he would have to come later. And then the restarts, they were all lined up 1, 2, 3 on the inside of that last restart that we had. And, they're all in their ears, so they're going to get the jump. And I just tried to hold them off as much as I can. But yeah, no, just a lot of confidence, just coming in, and I felt good. And I typically run good at short tracks. I won Bristol earlier, so I know this isn't really the same thing as Bristol, but short tracks are kind of okay for me, I guess. But just coming in and not running the track and getting second in here while these guys have been running laps all weekend, it just it does make me feel pretty good, I guess you could say. I ain't not too shabby.
Well, who do you want to thank for your run for second tonight, and then tell us about Eldora coming up next week?
Yeah, I just thank NOS Energy Drink for being on the car every week with this new Toyota. It looks really, still trying to get used to the new Toyota look with the NOS scheme on it, but it looks pretty good. So shout out to Snyder Graphics for making all my paint schemes for me. And thanks to VirtualRacing.Network for putting on these broadcasts every week for us. Enjoy going back and watching them the next day. Shout out to Gavin on another win, Adam in third for his podium. Shout out to my teammate Matt Erickson in the chat. I know he had a pretty eventful night, so just thanks to everybody that tuned in. And we're gonna go dirt racing next week, and it's gonna be even hopefully more exciting than getting to sling some mud around, and hopefully it ain't a caution fest or something like that.
Well, we had some fun on the dirt over in the other league. We'll see how this all turns out. Hopefully, it's a good one. Just remember that cushion. And remember this car, and it should be an interesting one to look forward to next week. Good luck next week and the rest of this championship, buddy.
All right, thank you, guys. Take it easy.
So that is Ronnie Norman. He takes second here tonight. He's second in the championship. He's done all that he can. He even took the final. He took his second position there on the final lap from Adam Buzzio. But now we get a chance to hop into victory lane and welcome the man of the moment, the guy who has absolutely been on a roll here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series. Congratulations, Gavin. It's another win, and you sweep all of the stages tonight.
Man, yeah, appreciate that. That was a very interesting race, to say the least. A lot of cautions, but I feel like there was a lot more potential we had with this place. It's just just a lot of different driving styles that didn't work out for some people, and a couple of us were able to figure it out. And those of us who figured it out, I think it drove pretty well. The racing was fun. It was hard, and it's just unfortunate it kind of ended that way. But overall, I think it was an okay race. It wasn't terrible, but at least to sweep the stages again and win the race is pretty awesome. It's what I really needed to stay ahead of Ronnie, and hopefully at least keep it close after Eldora when I'm going to be gone, unfortunately, for a family trip. But yeah, you know, just gotta hope that plays in my hand the best I can, and don't want to risk Ronnie any bad luck. I want him to do his best out there, but just to have to see how it plays out by then.
Well, it was, we were watching that different style, and it was Kalen who was mentioning how you were able to take that different line than a lot of other drivers were. We mentioned with Ronnie, a lot of drivers were having trouble up on the high side, possibly going over that seam, and it was causing them to spin around. But I noticed that you were able to hold that car down lower than even Adam was. What was the key out there now that you've won the race? Can you share a little bit of what you found behind the wheel without exposing too much secrets? But was there a particular thing that you found, or a particular line that seemed to work the best for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what Adam told me earlier, it seemed like I was braking a little bit harder than he was, and I guess the speed I had in the center of at least 1 and 2, I was able to have a little bit lower miles per hours, and was able to cut down a little bit better, have a straighter exit, and that seemed to really pay off with the tire wear and just having that faster overall exit. I thought he was actually better at that at the beginning of the last few practices, but I was able to pick it up during the race. But 3 and 4, it seemed like a lot of guys were pretty similar. It's just kind of getting around that seam with the left tires and just kind of cruise around the corner. You don't want to hit it like all the way around, because it'll kind of cut you loose, and you'll eventually lose it and spin out on exit of 4, which is really easy to do. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if there was really much else I was doing other than that, to be honest.
Well, Kalen, do you have any questions for Gavin?
So Gavin, I was kind of interested. For most of the race, you were running out front in either first or second, most of the time in first. And then we get to a stage of the race where you're one of the last of the leaders to pit, and you're back in the pack. Were you worried at that point that might have been an issue to where you weren't going to be able to get back to the front?
Yeah, I mean, well, as soon as we got that first restart after that pit that I had, I started to get a little bit worried for sure. It's actually happened to me once before, and I lost a race because of that. But fortunately, there was enough cautions. I was able to kind of keep the guys close to me, and was able to get behind Steven and Adam lined up on the inside line for that one restart, and we were able to get a couple spots off of that, just to timing our restart together pretty well. But you know, it was I probably should have pitted, I feel like, when Adam did, just to be safe. But I was too paid attention on other things during the race. I wasn't really focused on that too much.
Well, ultimately, that 10 laps newer tires really worked to your benefit, just to be able to make sure that you're able to keep the pace and keep everyone else at bay. And really, that was the story of tonight. Once you got around Adam, you got around Steven, it was just a matter of making sure that you stayed off the wall and you didn't hit any of the lap cars, and you pretty much were able to nail it out there tonight. Who do you want to thank for your run to the victory tonight?
Yeah, I want to shout out both my teammates, first of all, Adam and Steven. We definitely had a good race. We were almost top 3 the whole race, at least top 4, top 5, other than Steven having that little incident, I believe in stage 2 or something like that. But shout out to them. Shout out to all of our league sponsors. Buttkicker, of course, had them on the car tonight. Sundance Pizza, Idealis, Trivista. Shout out to all the admins, everyone watching, all my family, my 2 brothers, Gage and Hutchin. I know Gage wanted me to give him a shout out personally last time I got interviewed, but got that this time for you, bud. Shout out to you guys doing the broadcast. As usual, we have been just, you guys have outdone it, and we're really impressed with you guys.
Well, certainly very appreciative, and Kalen's first broadcast here in the VirtualRacing.Network booth, but hopefully you feel the same as I do. He did a bang-up job here in his first run, but hey, what an awesome job you did out there, Gavin. It's looking like your regular season championship if you could walk away with it. Now, did you say you're not going to be here for next week's race at Eldora?
Yeah, unfortunately, that'll be a race that I will be missing due to a family trip I got.
Well, we'll see how that plays out, but you managed to build a nice buffer. Tonight's performance definitely taking all those bonus points and the final points over the top of Ronnie Norman. But we'll look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks, and perhaps you'll have some work to do, but perhaps you might be able to hang on to that points lead after all. We'll see. But best of luck to you on your family trip, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks, my friend.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
So that is Gavin Rogers, who took the victory out there tonight. What a beautiful run. Absolutely swept the night, with the exception of his teammate taking the pole position out there. And Kalen, final thoughts on tonight. A lot of cautions, but it was still fun to watch Gavin master everything, and really fun to watch that battle there into second place come down to the final lap between Ronnie Norman and Adam Buzzio.
Yeah, I agree. It was sloppy at times with drivers trying to get used to this surface and this track and these tires. But at the end of the day, it kind of turned out what we expected to a point. Gavin dominating and Ronnie trying to break up the next level podium. And it didn't happen in the way that we expected it to, but if before qualifying, if we'd looked at these results, they wouldn't have been for him. So we got there in a strange way, but this is kind of the race that we would expect to happen with the top four fighting that we expected to see.
Absolutely, and I can't believe that it worked out that way, but the cream does rise to the top. Gavin Rogers, your winner here of the Adopted Dog 225. Certainly a great time to once again point out you should definitely head on down to your local adoption shelter and make a donation if you can. Certainly helps to keep that place going. But if you can adopt a dog or a cat, great time to do so. Bring them home, show them love, take care of them, and you'll be surprised with how much fun and friendship they can bring to you over the years. And of course, thank you to all the competitors here, the admin staff who keep the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series going, Buttkicker, Ideally, Sundance Pizza, and Trivista, the main sponsors here in the BRB Buttkicker Cup Series. We'll see you again next week on Tuesday night, same time, 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be at Eldora Speedway in the dirt. We'll look forward to seeing you there. On behalf of myself, Trevor Greenfield, and Kalen Davies, so long, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.